You know that feeling when a road suddenly changes and you realize, okay, now the trip has really started. That's exactly what happened the first time we turned off the main Chitral road towards Bumburet in Kalash Valley.
Yeah, one minute it's honking jeeps, shops, and that typical city noise. And then the jeep turns, the road gets narrower, and you just hear stones under the tires and this soft rush of water somewhere below.
I remember leaning against the jeep window, trying not to bump my head on every turn. And suddenly, there they were. Those old wooden houses with carved balconies, almost hanging over the slope, and tiny flashes of color moving between them.
Those flashes were people in their traditional dresses, right? But from a distance. That was the nice part. We were still outside the village, just getting this gentle, respectful first glimpse without being in anybody's personal space.
Exactly. And that's kind of the whole theme of today's episode of Travel Dairy. We're taking you through one soft, simple day in Bumburet. No big festival, no crowds, just a calm visit that respects local life and still gives you a beautiful experience.
So if you've ever thought, I want to see the Kalash valleys, but I don't want to be that tourist with the camera in everyone's face, then this is your episode.
We'll talk about where we stayed, that first walk along the river, a small museum visit, and some really simple etiquettes that makes a huge difference. And in the end, we'll share a little formula you can copy for your own gentle day in Bumburet.
All right, let's roll back to that moment the Jeep finally stopped.
So we hop out of the Jeep, stretch our backs, and the first thing I notice is the sound. In Chitral town, you always have some kind of background noise. Bikes, people shouting, music from a shop. Here, it was mostly the river, a few kids' voices, and the wind moving through trees. It felt like someone had turned the volume of life down to a gentle setting.
And a couple of roosters trying to start their own concert, but yeah, much quieter.
Now, for this kind of day trip, we went for a very simple guest house, nothing fancy. Think clean room, basic bed, wooden ceiling, and a small balcony or sitting area where you can actually see the valley instead of a TV.
Important expectation check here. Don't imagine a luxury resort. In Bumburet, a lot of the charm is in these family-run places. You might have a slightly uneven floor or a creaky door, but you also get chai made by the same person who tells you which path is safe to walk that afternoon.
Food-wise, we kept it simple too. Think dal, roti, maybe some local vegetables, an omelet, and lots of chai. If you're used to a big buffet breakfast, just reset your expectations. This is more like what's fresh and available today. And honestly, that's part of the charm.
Plus, a small tip from the camping and hiking side of my brain, always carry a couple of your own snacks. Nuts, dates, maybe a chocolate bar. Not because food is not available, but because you'll want to sit somewhere beautiful and just munch and stare at the mountains for a while.
After a quick check-in, we didn't rush anywhere. We just put down the bags, splashed some water on our faces, and stepped out for the easiest, most beginner-friendly thing you can do in Bumburet, a gentle walk along the river.
This is key. We followed a clear path that locals already use. No jumping into fields, no squeezing between houses, nothing that feels like you're sneaking into someone's backyard. If a path feels too narrow and private, it probably is.
The river there isn't huge and wild, it's more steady. The water's this clean, pale color with small stone beaches along some bends. On one side, you see terraces and fields. On the other side, wooden houses stacked up the slope, with walnut and apricot trees giving patches of shade.
And then the everyday life, kids walking back from school with backpacks almost bigger than them, women carrying bundles of wood, someone washing clothes near a water channel. Honestly, this everyday rhythm is more beautiful than any staged show.
We kept our phones mostly in our pockets. When you first arrive, it's tempting to take photos of everything. But here, the rule we followed was if it feels like a private moment, or you're not sure, just don't take the picture.
Exactly. And if you really, really want a photo of someone in traditional dress, the only respectful way is to ask clearly, accept a no, and be okay even if the answer is a smile but no words. Our best memories from that walk are sounds and feelings, not images on a phone.
After that first slow wander, we headed to a small museum in Bumburet. It's one of the best places to start if you're curious about Kalash culture, but you don't want to intrude on people's daily life.
Yeah, because a museum is literally a space made for your curiosity. You can stare at things there. Outside, staring can feel very uncomfortable for people.
Inside, we saw traditional dresses up close, old wooden tools, and some explanations, simple but helpful, about festivals, beliefs, and how life in the valley has changed over time. Nothing felt like a big lecture. It was more like little stories and objects.
And there's something nice about learning first in that kind of space. When you later see a real person wearing a similar dress or doing a similar ritual, your brain connects it to information you already have, and you don't feel the urge to treat them like a living museum piece.
One thing that shaped our day, we chatted a bit with a local person connected to the museum. Not a pushy guide, just a calm, friendly guy who answered a few questions, and when we asked, suggested where it would be okay to walk and where we should avoid.
That's a big recommendation from us. If you can, hire a local guide for at least an hour or two, or follow their advice seriously. They know which areas are sensitive, which times are good for visitors, and what's happening in the valley right now, things you will not find on an old blog post.
Let's talk quickly about how we interacted with people that day, because this is where a lot of travelers get nervous. First, clothing. We kept it simple and modest. Long trousers, full sleeves, nothing overly fitted. For women especially, modest, comfortable clothing is really important here.
Second, greetings. We mostly used a soft hello or salam with a smile, without blocking anyone's path. If someone looked busy, we didn't interrupt. If they made eye contact and smiled, then we'd maybe say a short line, but always let them lead.
And the camera rule, I'll repeat, ask before photos, be completely okay with a no, and avoid taking pictures of children, private courtyards, or rituals unless you are clearly invited and guided. This is not a photo shoot location, it's people's home.
Also, remember that roads and access can change. Landslides, snow, even local events. So before you plan this kind of day, always check recent information. Talk to someone in Chitral, check updated travel groups, or use resources we'll mention at the end.
By late afternoon, the light in Bumburet gets softer. We found ourselves back at the guesthouse, sitting either on the balcony or under a tree, watching the valley cool down. The river sound becomes a background rhythm, and small lights start appearing in houses up the slope.
That was my favorite part. No agenda, no must-see checklist, just sitting there with chai, a simple snack, talking about the day. You notice tiny things. Smoke from a kitchen, a dog barking, someone closing a wooden window with that old creak.
We weren't tired the way you get tired from rushing between tourist spots. It was more like pleasantly full, the kind of tired where your head is calm and your heart feels a little bigger.
So if we had to turn this whole experience into a simple, gentle Bumburet day formula for you, it would be something like this.
First, timing. Give yourself a full day from Chitral if possible. Start early, expect road conditions to change with weather, and don't try to squeeze in multiple valleys in one shot. Let Bumburets be the main story of that day.
Second, budget mindset. Think modest guest house, simple food, maybe a small fee for the museum, and some money saved for a local guide or local snacks. This isn't a high-end luxury stop. It's a place where simplicity actually gives you the best experience.
Third, etiquette. Dress modestly, keep your camera use thoughtful, stay on clear paths, use museums and guides to learn, and always remember that you're walking through someone's living village, not a theme park.
And finally, allow yourself quiet moments. That balcony at sunset, that pause under a tree, that slow river walk. Those are the things you'll remember when you're back in the noisy city.
If you're thinking, okay, I want to do this, but I don't trust my planning skills, we've made it easier for you. We've put together a small, printable mini plan for a gentle Bumburet day. Packing notes, cultural respect reminders, and a flexible outline you can adapt to current road conditions.
You can grab it on our website. Just head over to the Travel Diary site, look for this episode on Bumburet, and you'll see a link to download the mini plan and check any updated notes from recent travelers.
Whether you actually make it to Kalash Valley one day or just travel there with us in your imagination, I hope this episode showed that respectful, slow travel is not only possible, it's actually more beautiful.
From both of us, thanks for wandering through Bumburet with us today.
Until next time, travel softly and stay curious.